it's another week of sweeping the league. Rudy Campos Jr., Trey Collis joining me as always. Coach Gio is still working, probably working to get that promotion, that very big promotion that he's always wanted. And Austin Hartsfield, I believe, is working as well. But Coach Gio, twice in 2 weeks, I mean, well, back to back weeks is out and about. I wonder if he's okay. We're going to have to get him on the line here. Maybe it's that big talking about. So we'll see how that's going. But myself, Rudy Campos, Trey Collis here for another edition of Sweep the League. We're going to be sweeping through the NBA Finals. Chris Paul finally in the finals. Suns, Bucks. We'll get some predictions on that as the Suns ended up winning game one of the NBA Finals. We'll also get into some NBA draft talk, mainly the Spurs. A few names have been bouncing up, kind of the questions that we were looking at over Twitter. And not last but not least, NFL talk. Maybe we'll get into some fantasy talk here, get you some fantasy picks that you may want to look out for. All in all, it is Sweep the League here. Trey, how are you doing, sir?
Doing okay for a hump day. I mean, I guess we're the only ones with no life on a Wednesday night in the summertime. Geo, Austin, all working late. I guess our jobs aren't important. I guess. I mean, but we're here to bring you the facts, the truth, that everything. So everyone needs to tune in. It's gonna be an exciting show. We got NBA draft coming up, finals, kind of a big success, I guess you can say. Fantasy football season's only and football season's only a couple less than a month away from preseason, man. It's right around the corner. So tune in to Sweep the League, guys. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss us.
Well, and not only that, special big time announcement coming this weekend on the Sports Time, 10 to 11, 9:30 a.m. The Answer. Really big announcement coming this weekend, so you guys definitely don't want to miss that. It is broadcast on my page for Facebook as well as at Sweep the League on Twitter. So big news coming out of the Sports Time this Sunday, so don't want to miss that at all. But hey, we are in the NBA Finals, and last but not least, before we move on real quick, follow me at Sweep the League. Geo is at Coach Geo with double O at the end. Trey is at Trey 3025. Austin at Hartsfield MLB. He is the celebrity of the group, so go follow us on Twitter if you want all the great stuff that we basically kick out and regurgitate from other people's Twitter as well by retweeting it. Go follow us. You'll definitely have a good time. And again, this is Sweep the League. So hey, it's NBA Finals time, man. I mean, we saw Chris Paul finally get into the NBA Finals run. This finals has a little bit of a different feel to it. I'm gonna just ask you real flat out: Is this going to be one of the best finals that we've seen in a very long time? I mean, we got two unknown names basically in the finals with the Suns and Bucks. No LeBron, no like legit big time superstar outside of Giannis, maybe, but still a very likable superstar in Giannis. What are your feelings on this finals? Because me personally, I love this finals matchup.
I love the finals matchup just because there's like one of the key factors, like we've like 7 of the last 9 champions have been LeBron or Steph Curry, and we finally see someone new. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that Chris Paul is in the and I don't know where the scorings came from. Chris Paul. I mean, this guy scored 40 points in a clinching game on the road. Now he scores 32. I mean, I don't know where. I guess he's like, this is the only opportunity I'm going to get a ring, so he's taking full advantage of it, which he should, by the way. It's up to Coach Bud, man. Honestly, will he make adjustments to make this an interesting series? If he doesn't if he doesn't get Brooke Lopez out of that, where Chris Paul and Devin Booker are going to basically tear him to shreds and basically make him non-factor on the defensive end, which sucks is because Brooke Lopez is turning it up on the offensive side. But you got to make a decision. Do you want Chris Paul and Devin Booker going off on that pick and roll, or do you need to put in somebody else to guard? I mean, go small ball lineup and put Giannis at the 5, where he can basically guard 1 through 5. So it's up to Bud. Bud's not known for making adjustments, but right now he needs to make them to make this a long series. All right, now I have the Suns in 6, but I think it's going to be one of those. Yeah, the Suns won by 13 points in the first game, but I think that this series is a long way from over. I actually have Suns in 6, possibly 7. I think both teams are matched up really well. I think Giannis coming back, I think is going to help the Bucks a little bit. I think the first game jitters. I mean, he only shot 11 times. I mean, that's not a lot. that's potential to be one of the greatest series. I wouldn't say greatest of series, but one of the best series that we're going to see in a long time. Just up to Bud. I think it's all up to Bud. I mean, Bud has to make adjustments. Will he? I don't know. We've seen in the past games, he really doesn't make those big adjustments. He makes small in-game adjustments a little bit that you really don't recognize. But I think he needs to make a huge adjustment in sitting Brooke Lopez down and going in the second. But I'm intrigued, man. I hope Chris Paul. I'm rooting for both guys. Chris Paul, Giannis, you can't lose. Giannis needs it for his superstar status to say, hey, we don't need a superstar team to win a championship. And you have Chris Paul, who's the fairy tale story of like, as long as you keep grinding and working, you'll get to where you want to be and you'll win an NBA championship. So it's kind of both sides. I mean, the NBA is going to be the winners of this in the long run. But I mean, it has the potential to be one of the best series we've seen since probably the 2000. The Spurs series in 2013.
Possibly. This is the reason why I'm going to be honest, man. I'm going to be not biased or anything, but I really want this series to go 7 games. I really want it to.
Me too.
I would love for this series to go 7 games. I love both teams, both coaches, obviously part of the Spurs organization at one point or another. I don't know, man. The Bucks and Suns. It's the only other thing that I would have loved to see was Suns Hawks, but I will settle for Bucks and Suns. I'm hoping that it goes 7 games. Give us, the 7-game thriller, a couple of overtime games in this series. I just hope it lasts a very long time because I enjoyed watching Game 1 of the NBA Finals. It just didn't have a storyline going in, LeBron versus the Warriors or, LeBron trying to do the LeBron. Who gives a shit about LeBron? There's no more LeBron right now in the NBA. And this is what I miss about the NBA. You've got the great coming up storylines right now. Chris Paul going for that first title. Giannis lifting a Bucks team who hasn't seen the title since the days of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou at the time, and Oscar Robertson. A guy like Chris Middleton. I mean, you can say that he's an all-star, but another guy like Chris Middleton, who is a hard worker in the NBA, deserves, to get that opportunity to get the ring. And then you go to a guy like Devin Booker for Phoenix. I mean, the story with Devin winning 19 games one year, 22 games another year, just struggling when it comes to playing in Phoenix, sticking with the organization, bringing in Monty Williams, then bringing in Chris Paul. A story like that for Devin Booker. This is a monumental NBA Finals series. I hope it goes 7. I'm taking the Bucks. I'm taking the Suns. No, I'm taking the Suns. I'm sorry. I saw Bucks on the screen and I'm thinking, I'm taking the Suns. I'm taking the Suns in 7, only because I want this series to go 7 games. You cannot argue with me on that. You cannot argue with me.
No.
Mesquite, the Mesquite Rock is in here. Disagree, not up to Bud. I think up to Holiday. Holiday is our DeJounte. I hope DeJounte is learning. I can agree to a point with Mesquite here. I really can. I mean, Holiday's solid. I mean, he's a solid player. He very is. You can't deny that at all.
No, he's solid, but it's up to Coach Bud to put him in a winning situation, right? So, like, if Holiday is guarding Booker and they set a screen and they set a double screen, just like the Steph Curry effect, right? Like they keep screens. Mm-hmm. It's going to be up to those big men to come up and if you have Brooke Lopez in the back, not wanting to leave the paint, you're going to have trouble with that. And Chris Paul's going to pick and choose what he wants to do, and Devin Booker can get to the rim anytime he wanted to. So, yeah, if it was just one-on-one, Holiday would be great. I mean, he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, I would say. But it's up to Coach Bud to defend and how to defend that pick and roll. It's not all up to him. I mean, you can have the best defender in the world, but as long as they're doing screens, pick and roll screens all game long, it's not going to help you whatsoever. Coach Bud needs to make that decision maker and the adjustment to make that happen.
So what I'm getting at here on the NBA Finals talk, are we talking that you're saying this is more of a chess match by the coaches, or is it going to be won by the players?
The first 3 games are going to have to be adjustments by the coaches. I mean, that's
Okay.
plain and simple. It's a filling out process. Then by game 3, game 4, you start knowing everyone's plays. You get a feel of what they're doing, both teams are doing on the offensive side. So it's whoever executes that a little bit better. I mean, just look at Ty Lue. Ty Lue went down 2-0, and he made adjustments, and they came back and won the series. Everyone but the Western Conference Finals. It's just all about the first 2 games are basically all of first 2 or 3 games are up to the coaching staff and how to adjust in between. The first game is really a fill out game, so I don't hold it against the Bucks right now. I really don't, because they lost every game 1 except for the Miami Heat this year. They've lost every game 1 and they come back to win the series in every single one of them. So I give them credit where credit is due. I think that there's game 1's usually fill. I mean, LeBron James, how as great as he is, and how much I really love LeBron James, right? He typically loses game 1. He typically loses game 1 just because it's a fill out game. Okay, this is how they're going to guard me. This is how they're going to. So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of up to the coaching staff at the beginning of the series to get those adjustments in and see how to change it, or how if they're just going to let the chips lie where they lay, and that's how they're going to play it the rest of the series. But it's up to the coaching staff the first 2. But after the 3rd game, man, it's all up to the players, because you already know both teams' tendencies. You already know what you're doing. You already played them twice already in the regular season. Now you're playing them already played them 3 times. So after that, it's all up for grabs. Up to the players after that.
And you got to give me credit, man. My boy Cameron Payne, who I've been talking about all playoff long,
dude,
he's that X factor for the Suns right now. I mean, kid is balling.
He's getting a paycheck next year. I tell you that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. That's another good feel-good story too, right? Like, this guy was overseas last year, a couple of years ago before the bubble, and the Suns needed players to go in the bubble, and they called up Cameron Payne, and he thrived in the bubble, made the team for the Phoenix, and now look at him. He basically be a starting. He started for Chris Paul and played phenomenally well until he hurt his ankle in that last series. But he's playing lights out right now, shooting the ball very well, driving to the paint, knows how to finish at the rim. Great defender. He has a hustle factor. You're right. He's going to get a fat payday next year.
And I mean, I love the storylines that we're coming from the NBA Finals, because we're also seeing the emergence of DeAndre Ayton. A number 1 pick for the Suns. He was playing college ball out in Arizona. And again, you go back to the big man is dead. I mean, you have to have a big man that can step out and shoot threes. Ayton is showing you that a dominant big man is still serviceable in the NBA. So we're seeing, like I said, the storylines in this finals to me is awesome. There's so much stories that can be said in this finals. I love this finals. This is a great finals. I'm taking the Suns in 7. You said you're taking Suns in 6. Is that what you said?
I'm taking Suns in 6 because I'm picking the Suns to win this series, and they've closed every game out on the road. So the only way to do that is going to be either game 4 or game 6. And I'm hoping for you. I hope it's a long series, just because just because football, because if you go longer, that means it's closer to football season. That way, we're less bored of trying to figure out stuff to talk about. Besides baseball, we had the Olympics this year. Well, I mean, I get, but baseball doesn't get exciting to me until late August.
Man, baseball is actually it's getting exciting now.
Just because your Giants are doing good, don't rub it in. My Yankees are struggling.
Well, I'm pretty pissed off that Brandon Crawford didn't get voted in by the fans of the All-Star game. He did make it, but the guy's having an MVP caliber season. But whatever. I mean, that's as long as he's on the All-Star team, that doesn't matter to me. But I mean, if we're looking at baseball, I mean, Shohei Ohtani, he's already at like 31 homers, I think, for the year. I mean, talking about a pitcher, this is something that we haven't seen since the days of Babe Ruth, I believe was one of them. Babe was pitching as well. But I mean, you've got the Giants, who were not supposed to do anything this year, first place, number 1 team in the league in the MLB. You've got Shohei Ohtani just going bonkers. The stellar play, even though he's struggling, has got a lot of errors, but the stellar play and the emergence of guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. You've got Vlad Guerrero Jr. I mean, you've got the new guys coming up. We talked about the debut of Wander Franco hitting a home run in his debut. baseball MLB is starting to make that change to where we saw in the NBA when we saw that new breed of NBA players starting to come up. MLBs are along that path. The NFL has actually been on that path. We'll get into some NFL talk later, but we're going to move on right now because we've got the NBA draft coming up here. And again, it's Rudy Campos Jr., Trey Collis, Sweep the League, Coach Gio is out working, Austin Hartsfield is out working. So with the NBA draft coming up, we're not going to get into Spurs talk right now for the NBA draft prospect wise. I mean, we all know Cade Cunningham is going to go number one. He's the number one pick. There's really no other person unless you have a trade that happens, which I cannot see happening. But whoever trades for the number one pick, if it does happen, they're going to get Cade Cunningham. I had Suggs going number 2 to the Rockets, but now there's more movement with Jalen Green going number 2 to the Rockets. If I'm putting Suggs and Green side by side, I give Suggs that edge only because I think he's more polished. Is that a better word to say? Than Green is. Now Green played in the G League. I mean, he played in the summer league, basically the G League, basically for the Ignite. But I still think that Suggs gets that nod, man. His play is just, to me, it's just overall a tad bit better than Green. Am I seeing the same thing? Are you seeing the same thing, or am I seeing something different here? Are you seeing Green to be better?
No, I mean I'm Jalen Suggs all the way, buddy. I think he's better than Cade Cunningham. I think he should go number one overall. Just because I've seen him play almost every single game in Gonzaga. This guy is when the spot's not too big for Jalen Suggs. You saw what he did into the NCAA tournament. When the brights are on the light, whatever that saying is, when the
bright lights,
bright lights are on him, he doesn't crumble. He embraces that moment. He hit half court shots. He's hit buzzer beaters. He drives to the rim. The only thing that needs to work on is his 3-point shot. But Cade Cunningham, I don't understand why everyone's so high on. Yeah, he's a great shooter, scorer, but there's times where he only scored like 6 points in a game. He's only times where he's only scored 2 points and a half. Then second half he gets rolling. But at the same time, in the NBA, it's a whole lot different. You're not playing against college basketball guys anymore. You're playing against elite level athletes. So that kind of scares me a little bit about Cade Cunningham, especially if he's going to go to Detroit Pistons because they're not a winning culture over there. Cade Cunningham, well, is a great player. I just think I would trust Jalen Suggs. This guy's proven he basically carried his team to the national championship game. He basically carried his team to the conference championship title in that last game because BYU had a stranglehold on him, and if it wasn't for Jalen Suggs going bonkers late in that second half, Gonzaga wouldn't have been undefeated going to the championship game. So Jalen Suggs, I'm with you. Jalen Suggs, I think should be number one. I think he should be number one overall. Maybe that's why I'm not running an NBA team right now. But I just think I see more. He's more, like you said, he's more polished, and I think that he's a better NBA fit right now than what Cade Cunningham is. But I could be wrong. Cade Cunningham says Stanley play. He will probably be a great superstar in this league. I just think right now Jalen Suggs is the future of the NBA, and with Luka Doncic, I think I'm already hyping Jalen Suggs up tremendously. I think this guy has an all-around game. Plus, he's a hell of a defender too. This guy is one of the best defenders on the perimeter as well. So you're getting both sides of the ball right there too. And this guy always hustles, never quits, never does anything. He's very motivated. So I'm with you. I love Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, I love Suggs. I can't picture him going one though. I mean,
no, he won't.
Here's the thing. He's got the experience under the bright lights. We know that for a fact. But when you've got a player like Cade Cunningham, okay, am I back? All right. Test, test, test. Am I back? No, no, no. Test, test, test. Test, 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 test. Better? No? Okay. Can you hear me now, Trey?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Okay. Someone get Spectrum on the phone. All right. We're back now. Sorry about that. We got Spectrum issues here. I noticed my Focusrite was out. So Mesquite Rock says that we're good now. And of course, it gets back to the phone. Basically, what I was saying was Jalen Suggs, any other draft, he goes number one. Any other draft. You can't pass up a 6'9" point guard like Cade Cunningham who can make plays. He makes your team better automatically. You just can't pass that guy up at all. So Suggs goes number one any other year. But at the same time, you know, it's tough. I can't argue with you saying Suggs doesn't deserve to go number one. You make great points to it, so I can't argue with that for a fact. But you just cannot pass up Cade Cunningham. And what's weird is that we're seeing Green or Suggs go to, which leaves the perfect, absolute perfect position for the Cleveland Cavaliers. You've got Darius Garland and Colin Sexton in your backcourt. You've got Kevin Love, who's really doesn't want to be there. So what do? You go out and you get an Evan Mobley, and if you're able to keep a Jared Allen, you've got a pretty nice little lineup going there with Sexton, Garland, Allen, and Mobley. I mean, that is a nice four-headed monster there for Cleveland. Can you see Cleveland making some noise with that lineup? Not next year, obviously, within a few years.
If they keep doing what they're doing, I mean, they're doing great things right now. Sexton's a great young player. If he can just pass the ball to his teammates, seems like he dribbles more than James Harden a lot of times. But yeah, if you get Jared Allen and then you get Mobley, Mobley's going to be a stud in this league as well. Talk about another Ayton, a little shorter than Ayton, but a little like Ayton, right? Like he can defend, he can shoot, he can guard. He's a great big man for the NBA. He's going to be a great player in this league. If the Cleveland Cavaliers keep drafting the way they're doing and picking up players and trading for the right pieces, what they're doing, they're going to attract some free agencies. I mean, not the big names like per se, but they're going to attract like these young, not like second tier kind of players in the future as long as they keep doing what they're doing. So I'm with you. The Cleveland Cavaliers, as long as Dan Quinn doesn't mess up anything, I see the Cleveland Cavaliers making a play, especially in the Eastern Conference when it's just top heavy. When you just basically have three teams and the bottom's kind of like fading out a little bit. I mean, the Knicks made it this year, and we saw that the Knicks were not even that good. To be honest with you, so anything can happen in the East besides the top three teams. The Atlanta Hawks should not have been in the conference final. Let's just be straight up honest with ourselves. It was just a great story. It just came to an end. So in the Eastern Conference, it's a lot lighter than the Western Conference. So as long as they stay in the East, as long as they're in the East, man, the Cleveland Cavaliers can make it to the 8-7 seed, play in tournament, whatever the case may be, as long as they keep doing what they're doing. Do I trust Dan Quinn to keep doing that? Probably not, because he'll screw it up some way or another. But I do see them, as long as they do keep it going the way they are, and I can definitely see them making playoffs in the next couple of years.
Yeah, they're doing something good up there. Give me one prospect in the top 10 that you feel is going to make now. I'm not saying the top four because obviously we're going, Suggs, Cunningham, Mobley, and Green. Let's not even go Kaminga. So let's say, give me a prospect that'll fall in the top 10 where you feel is going to make a ton of noise coming into the league. I've got a couple, but I want to hear who you got first.
Oh, me stands out. It's Mitchell from Baylor.
Yeah.
Talk about a guy who that guy can defend. He's a great defender. He can score. He can shoot three. He's a energy boost. This guy's going to be a stud in this league. He's probably going to go number 5, number 6 overall, maybe even 7. If he goes to 7 to goal, man, if Golden State can get him at 7, if they don't trade up 2 lottery picks, good Lord, man. Talk about the Golden State Warriors coming back next year. I just think that Devin Mitchell's that type of NBA caliber team that everyone needs, either coming off their bench or being a starting point guard in this league because he has great ball. He can finish out the rack. He's versatile. He's speed. His defensiveness. Everything. He's a great guy. I just think everything that Mitchell brought to Baylor to win the national championship. He basically carried didn't carry Baylor to win championship, but he was basically the focal point of that championship team. And everyone saw in just the way he defends, the way he hustles and grinds every stinking day. I love Mitch. I think Mitchell, any other year, Mitchell will probably be top two, but this draft is so top heavy this year. There's 10 good players in this league that you really can't mess up on this year. But yeah, that's who I'm looking for, Mitchell. Let's see who gets him.
Yeah, Davion Mitchell is, I mean, right now you've got some people predicting him to go number 8, for which I believe that's Orlando. But I mean, that's a solid player. It's almost like how let me ask you this, because I mean, I don't want to ask it or answer it at the same time. Can you almost say that he's almost a Suggs like player, like getting that whole package right there? Now he's not Suggs, but I'm talking about
he's not.
Similar styles.
He's similar styles. He's similar styles. He can get to the rack. He can do it on the defensive end. He shoots the three better than Suggs. I will give you that. And then his passing might do a little bit of work too, but he can be versatile in the passing game as well. Suggs is a great passer. I mean, their games are mirror image of each other almost on tat for tat. But there's just something about Jalen Suggs that's a winner. Even though Mitchell won the championship against Suggs, right? But Mitchell had the better team, had like the 5-year seniors and everything like that. Jalen Suggs was basically a freshman, first year in the league, and helped him and Kisberg, whatever his freaking name is, who was that guy with the mustache? I forgot his name already. He was a dynamite in that league. So
yeah,
I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but anyway, Mitchell, I'll take. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, this draft is loaded. It's gonna be possibly the top draft in our lifetime. I'm telling you.
Wow, that's going a lot. That's
in our. Right there. I mean, dude, if they pan out, you're looking at, man. Any other year, the top 8 players could be the number 1 draft pick. That's how good this draft is this year.
Wow. Okay. You know, I'm not even gonna argue with that, because this has the potential of being a massive draft class. I mean, it really does. You're talking the first 4 guys, actually the first 5 guys are hands down going to be all-stars. I mean, easily, you feel? We're talking Kuminga, Suggs, Green, Mobley, and Cunningham, all-stars, pretty much.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed. Okay.
Well, not guaranteed, because it's up to these coaching staff on these crappy teams to make them better, and that's kind of hard to do with Detroit Pistons. But I like what Detroit Pistons are doing. I mean, they got a grant in the free agency last year, so it's up to, like, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I just don't trust that much, but as long as their coaches don't mess up their ability to become better players, then yes, they all should be all-stars in the next couple of years.
Okay, so I'm going to name some players: Jordan, Stockton, Barkley, Olajuwon, 84 draft class. Better than that draft class.
I said that's why I said potentially. Dude, that draft class is stacked, man. But if these guys these top 10 guys, doesn't have to be a top 4. The top 10 guys make all-stars, make finals appearance, and do all these things that the 84 class did. There's no reason to believe that it couldn't be better than 84. It just depends how much deeper. It's hard to beat that 84 draft class. It really is.
I'm going to get roasted on Spurs Twitter for this, but I'm going to say that, and this is a big if this pans out, this draft pans out, and these players are the way that we expect them to be, I think it has the potential, I agree with you, to be better than the 84 class, but it'll definitely be better than the second highest draft ranking, which in most cases is the 96 draft, with Kobe, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Ray Allen. I think it'll be way better than that draft class, hands down.
Man, that's
And that's
another
tough.
draft class. Man, oh, that's tough. But yeah, but the way the game is transcended, right? Like I could see that. Like the way the scoring goes up. I mean, these guys are a lot better ball handlers, better scorers, better shooters, more fast pay. I mean, I agree with that. If they pan out, easily top two.
Yeah, we're talking what, 3 MVP? No, was Iverson an MVP of the league? He was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking 3 MVPs in that draft class. You know, Hall of Famers. We're talking in the '84 draft class. We're talking 2 MVPs, Olajuwon and Jordan. So, I mean, will an MVP come out of this draft class? I have no idea. I mean, we don't know. My top prospects are, and this is guys that I feel that are going to step into the top 10 right now. I prayed and prayed and prayed that Keon Johnson out of Tennessee would drop to the Spurs, but I think he's actually going to stick into the top 10, especially after the combine that he had. The workouts that he had. He's going to stay in the top 10. Scotty Barnes is one that I'm kind of miffed about, I guess is a good word, because you're talking a 7'3" wingspan, very long, lanky guy. He's kind of that unpredictable player that I'm not too certain on if he should be in the top 10. That's why I have him as a top prospect, because he's getting a lot of love right now. I can see the love. I hope he pans out. I hope he's not one of these guys that gets drafted in the top 10 and it just doesn't ever pan out. But Scotty Barnes one to keep an eye on. James Bouknight. Now, this guy's being pegged to join the likes of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in Golden State. That would be a huge problem for the Western Conference and the rest of the league. James Bouknight is going to be damaging for everybody else if he lands in Golden State. Do I think it happens? I don't quite know if it will. I want to say maybe so, but I mean, the guy can shoot, man. The guy can score. I mean, you're talking, he's got one of the better games in this draft class itself. To put him alongside a Steph Curry and a Klay Thompson, I think Golden State, you're talking about them being one of the top teams in the West, honestly, if you get James Bouknight with them and he pans out the way he's supposed to. Those are my top prospects. So I want to move real quickly into Spurs. Lately, they've been working out a lot of guards, tons of guards. I have just too many to list. I'm not even going to list them, but do you think something's in the water in the front office there? Is there possibly a trade in the works? We've been hearing about the DeMar DeRozan move possibly being traded to a sign and trade to the Los Angeles Lakers is one. I was actually on Jeff Garcia. Well, no, I was on Jeff Garcia's podcast earlier, Locked on Spurs, and we talked about this. And my quote on Jeff Garcia's show was this: if DeMar wants to win, he has to do a sign and trade. A lot of contenders do not have the money to just outright sign DeMar for what he wants. If he's looking for a big payday, he's got to go to a team that's not good, that's not a contender. They have the available money. So does it make complete sense for him to agree to a sign and trade for one of these contenders, because that's the only way they can get him under contract? I mean, if you're the Lakers, you're going to have to dump Kuzma, KCP,
which I'll be happy to do.
Oh yeah, but you've got to dump those guys to clear space, to clear cap space, and then you're going to have to get rid of that 22nd pick. So, if the Lakers are truly involved in this, a sign and trade is something they really need to happen, and that's for any contender, not just the Lakers. Any contender. No contender has the cap space to put a DeMar DeRozan on the roster outright. While you talk about that, I'm going to look it up just to make sure, but I am almost certain there's no way that any contender has the cap space to just outright sign DeMar DeRozan.
Dallas Mavericks might.
But are they a contender? Are they a Lakers that are?
If you get DeMar, if you keep Kristaps Porzingis at the number 3, because I think Porzingis is a great 3. I don't think he's a 2 at all. I think he's a great 3. You get DeMar DeRozan, who can give you the jump shot in the mid range. I mean, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but he gives you another scoring option. Then you have Luka Doncic, and then somehow you keep Holiday. I mean, not Holiday. What's his name? Hardaway. Tim Hardaway. That's a contending team. I don't know if they can play any defense, but that's a good solid team right there. I mean, that's only one. I'm thinking of teams in the playoffs. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's all I heard on Twitter today on Spurs Talk was DeMar DeRozan wants to go to the Lakers. Well, the Lakers, I think, are looking at someone else in the Western Conference. His name is Dame Time, and they're trying. I think they're going to try to get him. He's made a little buzz saying his little Instagram posts and everything like that are like, "What do you think?" And it's like purple and gold in the background. How does it look on whatever? I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the front office from the Portland Trailblazers are going to trade him to the Lakers or not. But for a second option, if you're the Spurs, why would you want Kuzma? Why would you want Kuzma? He can't shoot. He's not a prolific scorer. He can't shoot the ball very well. He's an airhead at most of the times. KCP can't seem to get out of trouble, stay out of legal trouble. He's on and off. He couldn't hit a three to save his life in the playoffs. If you're the Spurs, I would go with draft, man. I mean, I just seen a lot of with Kuzma. I just don't believe that he's a good fit for the Spurs. But yeah, DeMar, I think you're right.
It's a change of scenery, though. A change of scenery works for a lot of players. It really does.
But Kuzma doesn't want to work on his game. He's like a Ben saying, he doesn't want to work on his game. He doesn't want to get better.
Right now. He's cheap. Right now, he's really cheap.
Yeah, he's cheap. Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you're the Spurs, why you want to bring that airhead into your organization? You think Pop can still change? These young guys really don't understand what Pop brings to the table anymore. They really don't. Like, Pop has to be nice to the guys. He can't yell in their face like they did back with Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and everybody. It's a new age.
If Pop retires, does Kuzma make sense?
Is that ever going to happen?
No.
Yeah,
if I said
retires.
If he retires,
yeah,
does Kuzma make sense for the Spurs?
Depends on who they hire. If they hire Becky Hammond, hell yeah, it makes a good spot. But yeah, if Pop retires, I think it would be a good fit. But I just don't think Pop's ever going to retire until he's in his coffin.
So should anyone buy into the draft to the not the draft, but to the draft talk. Basically what I'm saying, should anybody buy into the draft talk about them basically working out a ton of guards? I mean, to me, if you're working out a ton of guards, you're possibly either going to grab another first round pick somewhere. So you're going to grab a guard. The other thing that I told Jeff was that you have to fill the void. You have to fill needs on this team. You're not going to be able to fill needs with one draft pick. Not one draft pick.
You're right.
Not only that, you're not going to fill the big time mandated needs in free agency. Players are not going to want to come here. The big time players aren't going to come here. So sign and trade for DeRozan is like this. And we've got guys in here. Mosquito's in here saying no way on Kuzma. I totally get that. I totally get the no way on Kuzma. A lot of Spurs fans they're not high on Kuzma at all. I mean, I see both sides of the spectrum here. The Athletic with the Hawks owner not being able to afford to sign Collins and Spurs being a fit. That's another one. That is another one with the Hawks and Collins. I mean, that is another one. Let me go back to Mosquito and the Kuzma because that's what we're talking about first, and we'll get into Collins talk. If you need to fill needs, then you're not going to keep DeMar, but you've got to do a sign and trade. So, for example, I'm just using the Lakers because this was what they said recently. You take DeMar, you sign him to his 37, 38, 39 million. You trade him away. It makes sense to trade him for Kuzma, who's at 13 million. I think you've got Montrezl Harrell is at 9. You've got KCP at 13. So you can maybe throw those three guys in the mix and then also give away the 22nd pick. Now, you fill a need, a void with Kuzma. Whether he sucks or he doesn't, you fill a need with Kuzma just for the time being. Consider this. I don't consider him like this, but if Spurs fans are considering it like this, Kuzma's a Band-Aid. It's just to fix a problem for right now. If he pans out, he pans out. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. It's not the worst thing in the world, but you're getting players in return. You're also getting that first round pick back in return. So you're not going to go out and sign a Kawhi Leonard if he opts out. You're not going to sign a CP3 if he opts out. There's other guys you're not going to sign. You may be able to sign a Duncan Robinson who would solve your shooting problems, but you're going to have to pay that man a lot of money. So you get that other pick, you get a guard, you get a big man. That's what I'm saying on the Kuzma talk. Yeah, it's not like we're gonna. It's not like Kuzma's gonna join the rafters with Duncan and Manu and Tony. He's not. But he's just. It's like a band-aid right now. I'm not calling him a band-aid, but for Spurs fans to understand, you've got to fill a position. And you're losing Rudy, you're losing Patty, you're possibly losing DeMar. You're gonna have to fill a void in there. All right, yeah, you're gonna have to fill the void. Does that make sense as far as that goes?
Yeah, but it doesn't help your shooting woes, man. It doesn't help what they. I mean, yeah, it fills a guard spot for the time being, but it doesn't help you one way or another on shooting. I mean, that's what the Spurs need. They're dead last in 3-point field goals. They need a 3-point shooter. They need more shooters. And you're right, the draft won't potentially help you this year. But yeah, that's where the sign and trade comes into handy. If they're Spurs, why not look for someone else to go out? Like, I mean, why not go get a Duncan Robinson out of Miami who can shoot the 3-point shot? I mean, Kuzma just doesn't fit the Spurs mentality. Doesn't fit. Yeah, it's a position that they're filling. I get what you're saying about that, but it's still not going to help them overall scoring wise. To help their deep 3-point threat. He can hit the three every now and then, but he's not a consistent 3-point shooter maker. But I get what you're saying and all that. But I just think that the Spurs are just in a tough spot right now where they're gonna. Spurs fans don't want to hear this, but they're gonna have to tank. And they tanked up, and they should have tanked this year. I'm just gonna be straight up. They need it. They need something like not tank, but maybe like a small injury like David Robinson had when they dropped all the way to get the number 1 overall pick. Something like that. I'm not saying tank, but they're still playing their hearts out, right? They need some kind of magic on that way, because like you said, no big free agencies want to come to San Antonio, which I don't understand because San Antonio is a beautiful city and there's a lot to do in San Antonio. I mean, you're only 3 hours away from the coast. You got wine country down the road. I just don't understand. You got SeaWorld. And plus, it's a media market that.
Give me a break.
I'm just trying to think of all the things downtown San Antonio. Always saw them happening. I'm just saying, man. Like, I'm just trying to help Spurs fans out. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to help free agencies come out here. I get what you're saying, but Spurs are just in a tough spot right now. They're in that medium, like we're not great, but we're not bad either. It's kind of that middle, like crap. And then you get the 12th pick overall when the top 10 are top heavy this year. So it's kind of like, what do you do? You know what I mean? So I always start building from the draft of all the Spurs. That's exactly. And then if DeMar DeRozan wants to sign him, then that's extra money or extra players you're going to get in a sign and trade, no matter who he signs him with.
Yeah, so going back to Notorious ADD, and also Mesquite's in here. I'm going to go his comment real quick. He says to keep DeMar, get Kispert, Sengun, or Jones at the power forward. We need power forward. Maybe Reddish. Cam Reddish is another guy, but I mean, he's still under contract with the Hawks until I believe it's 22, 23. So
yeah,
you'd almost have to trade
getting rid of Hot Reddish.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of Reddish right now. It would be ideal. Now, maybe next year, going into next season, because it's a team option, which I'm pretty sure they'll keep the team option on Reddish. Then after that, it goes to a qualifying offer. But again, Reddish wouldn't make sense for the Spurs. Kai Jones in the draft makes sense for the Spurs, but I think he's going to go in the top 10. I think right now Sacramento is probably going to peg him as their pick right now. But going back to Collins, man. Now, there was some rumblings out of, Hot Atlanta, which was basically saying that they don't expect this team to stay together. And a lot of signs are pointing to Collins taking off. Collins has been the hot topic for the Spurs when it comes to offseason moves. Throwing the money at Collins, is it worth it? From what you've seen, is it worth it? And I love you because you're brutally honest, so be brutally honest.
You're talking Spurs-wise?
Is it worth throwing max money to Collins in the offseason?
No.
And I can echo the same sentiment, but again, if you want a player, you've got to pay.
Yeah, you do, but at the same time, you don't. I mean, let's be straight up honest with ourselves. Collins had one good year this year, his contract year, and if I'm not mistaken, isn't a restricted free agent anyway.
Collins is
I thought he's restricted. So the Hawks. I think. Honestly, the owner's saying that I don't think we're going to be able to give me a break. You're going to keep. They're going to sign Collins. There's no way Trae Young's going to let Collins walk out that door. I mean, straight up honest with you, there's no way. But if you're the Spurs, I mean, why not throw all the money at him right now? Because you need something to come in. You get a great big man who hustles all the time. He can shoot the rock, can shoot the three. If he has a bad first half, he's going to have a great second half. He doesn't have back-to-back bad halves. So you're getting a great all-around player in that instance. So why not just throw all the truck money at him? But just me personally, I just don't think he's worth. I mean, I if it was me personally, I wouldn't throw the money at Collins just because he hasn't proven his worth to me. If that makes any sense. Yeah, he had one good year, but I just don't know if we can keep it consistently available through. Like, is he the type of guy who gets his money, then he fades off in the distance and we never hear of this guy again? Or is he one of those guys who's going to rise up to the occasion and get better and better each year? I just don't know what I'm going to get out of Collins through that aspect of the trade or the free agency.
So say Collins doesn't pan out, and Cleveland, who mentioned something in past months when they said that if they were able to land Mobley, that there's a possibility that they would let Allen walk. Now, I don't think Jared Allen would get max money, but this is the NBA. We've seen max money thrown around like it's nothing. Is that another guy that we look at that's kind of under the radar because of all this John Collins talk? He's not as gifted on the offensive end, but he's better than Poeltl.
Offensive end. Hey, man, why are you talking smack against him? What? He's a great player. Just giving you a hard time.
I have nothing against Jakob Poeltl at all. He's not. I mean, he's doing what he's doing for what, $9 million a year. I mean,
yeah,
you can't expect a whole bunch for $9 million a year, but at the position, Jared Allen is way better.
And then you bring him into a San Antonio Spurs organization that's not a big market, that doesn't get all the publicity, and you still under the radar, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. So it could pan out that way. And I mean, I would do that. I would get Jared Allen. Yeah, why not? Come on, the Spurs, buddy. I got you. Yeah, my bet. Yeah, my vote.
So a perfect off season would be, and again, since we're coming up towards the end of the show here, a perfect off season for the Spurs. This is my perfect off season. You get Collins. You have the sign and trade for DeRozan. Or I'm going to put or you keep DeRozan. You can keep him. I mean, if he stays, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I have no problems. If he goes, it's okay. If you get a sign and trade. My sign and trade is what's rumored with the Lakers. 22nd pick. And you get Kuzma and you get KCP or Harrell. So I'm okay with that for right now. You go out and you get a Collins. And the other part to that is you go and get a Duncan Robinson. Solves your shooting. Then you come into the draft. You've already got a Collins. You've already got a Robinson who's your shooter. You've got your point guards already. You've got Kuzma who can step in there. You've got your youth in Keldon, Devin, Lonnie. We're talking 8 guys already. You've got 2 draft picks. Me personally, at number 12, I'm like, okay, I've got my big man already. What else do I need? Could I solidify the big man spot again? Maybe go Jalen Johnson from Duke, another young guy that can come in. He can contribute. If Kai Jones falls, do you pair a Kai Jones with a John Collins? I mean, that would be a lot of dunking. Let's be honest, man. Or
that'd be highlight films.
Or do you get yourself another shooter in Corey Kispert? I mean, that is the perfect offseason. And then at 22, you got what, Johnson, or I think it's Cameron Johnson from LSU. I mean, Cameron Thomas from LSU. I was looking it up right now. Or you can go get an Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky at that late. I mean, there's so much potential in this draft. That to me would be the perfect Spurs offseason. For you, what would be ideally a perfect offseason for the Spurs?
Man. You pretty much what you said is right on, but it ain't going to happen.
No, I mean it's either going to be It's either going to be Duncan Robinson or John Collins if you're throwing max money.
Right.
And Robinson doesn't get max money, but he's going to get a good amount of money.
No. So I would just work on. I mean, you really need two or three good. You need one or two good shooters on the outside. Basically, help. That's what was killing the Spurs this year. They couldn't make the shot. You're gonna get a Derek White. Hopefully, he stays healthy next year. Keldon Johnson's gonna be better than ever. I mean, that guy's a steal. I think he was one of the. He's gonna be a great player in this. I think he's gonna be a future All Star for the Spurs. I think he's gonna be the best Spur player for the next coming up years. You get him going, you get Derek White back healthy, and DeJounte Murray works on a shot. Then you get a three like a Duncan Robinson. You get or Jared Allen in the center. You get some electricity, some energized bunnies. Basically, what I'm trying to get. That's what you really need if you're the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of times, you just found it kind of dog, kind of going through the motions. So they never had anyone to pep them up or anything like that. So that's why I think they keep Patty Mills. I think just for the veteran leadership, I think he's going to stay for the minimum. He ain't going to go anywhere else because he's with the Spurs family. And you get him shooting coming off the bench a little bit. Don't have to play him much minutes, but you get him a threat from 3-point range. I think they're just going to stay packed as is, and then maybe hopefully get a Duncan Robinson and then get a Kesberg out of the draft. And I think that'd be a solid, good start for the Spurs to start rebuilding for their dynasty years.
Yeah,
but DeMar, can we stop at this? DeMar Rosen staying with the He's not staying with the San Antonio Spurs. He's not.
You know that for a fact.
He's not happy in San Antonio.
Would you bet your house on it?
It's because I don't live in a house. Yeah, sure.
All right,
I'm homeless.
A week's worth of pay.
Well, I
bet a week's worth of pay.
Sure. Not even no. Okay, I take that back. It's because he wants to go out west, right? He wants to go to LA. He wants to go somewhere out west. It all depends on what's going to happen with Dame. I know Dame's still 4 years under contract, but if they get anything for Dame, it's all going to be about Kawhi Leonard too. Watch Kawhi Leonard. He's going to have to be the first piece to fall in this free agency. We have to see what he does. If some odd reason Kawhi leaves the Clippers and goes to Miami or whoever else, or goes to Dallas, which I think will be a great fit for him. I think it'll be awesome for him to go to Dallas. Look for DeMar to go to the Clippers. Look for DeMar to go to the Lakers if they get that sign and trade done. I just think that DeMar wants out of San Antonio. I just believe in my heart. I just don't think he wants to be in San. I think he wants to be closer to home. Portland, somewhere closer to home. I think that's where he wants to be.
So, I guess, would you be upset to see DeMar re-sign with the Spurs?
No, because I don't think he's going to make them better or make them worse. He's going to be the same Pat Spurs. You're going to pick 12th next year in the NBA draft, and we're going to do the exact same thing all over again in the next 12 months.
So Mesquite saying ideal re-sign DeMar and Kispert's game translate to the NBA game, which it does. I mean, Corey Kispert's going to be a good role player. He's not going to be a superstar. He's going to be a good role player.
He's going to be like a what's his name from the Clippers last year? Who played for Duke? What's his name? Leonard.
JJ Redick?
No, not Jay. He this year in the playoffs came off the bench. He started making shots. White guy, played for Duke.
Kennard,
yes.
Yeah,
he's gonna be like Kennard, I think.
I think Kispert has the potential to be on the high end, maybe a JJ Redick eventually.
Ooh. You see him moving off screens that quick and shooting?
I think so.
Or do you see him more as a standstill shooter? Like stand in the corner.
I could name players that people won't even remember from college, but if he's going to be a stand-up shooter and a scorer from the outside, an old guy like Sean Respert from Michigan State.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Possibly a Steve Logan from Cincinnati. Those guys are shooters and they're scorers. Kispert, I think you're right. He may not be able to come off the screen as fast, but I'm trying to think of a guy because, you're looking at a Redick who can come off the screen fast, get a shot up fast. He's not a Curry or a Thompson finesse player. Definitely not Ray Allen. Oh, man. Could you really say a very poor man's Reggie Miller?
Well, Reggie Miller's came off the screens very well too.
But he wasn't quick.
No, he wasn't
had a
quick.
quick release.
He's got to be. Yeah, that's why he's gonna have to work on a quick release and getting. Oh man, you gotta be like Reggie Miller, right? Like kind of like smooth
Dan
and try to
Marley.
find ways.
Dan Marley.
Dan Marley.
Okay, I would say probably Dan Marley is the guy I would say Kispert reminds me of.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind a Thunder Dan Marley on the Spurs. I mean, that would be pretty cool for Kispert, you know. But yeah, man, I mean, going to a lot of the stuff that we talked about here, you know, it's going to be an interesting draft. We're going to do some not NFL, some NBA draft coverage. We'll get some prospects out. We'll do some mock drafts as well. Hopefully we'll get Gio in here in Austin. We can do a 4-person mock draft and see where the chips land. We didn't get into NFL fantasy talk. We'll get into a couple of things here for NFL wise. Fantasy football coming up here pretty soon. If you got the number 1 pick, Trey, who are you taking? There really is just a unanimous number 1. So who are you taking number 1 in fantasy football?
Dak Prescott. Just kidding.
Jesus.
Honestly, dude, who I picked first the last couple of rounds, you're gonna probably laugh at me. Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry.
I never take a quarterback one. I never have, but
well, I'm telling you, Patrick Mahomes gets you 55, 60. I mean, Lamar Jackson too, just because of his running ability and
his running ability does. But I mean, number 1 off the board has to be Christian McCaffrey. I mean, there's no. I don't even know if I can
even trust Josh.
That what?
I mean, you're actually going to tell me that the quarterback, what's his name, Donald's going to actually make Christian McCaffrey a lot better this year?
No, but with McCaffrey's abilities, I mean, he can break it out off the outside, run through the trenches. I mean, he's going to do all the goal line stuff.
I'm just telling you, Patrick Mahomes usually gives me a win every single week. Like, all right, down 50 points, Patrick Mahomes gets 60 for me. I'm just telling you, that guy can do it all. Especially with the weapons that he has.
Playing in, because that's a lot of points for a QB, man.
I'm just boasting them up a little bit, but no, I'm with you, Alvin. I would say Alvin Kamara, but I don't know how good he's going to be with that Saints offense this year.
We're gonna have to get into more NFL fantasy talk because that's where it's big here on Sweep the League. I don't think you were a part of it.
Honestly, Henry this year for the Titans. Watch out. Could have a stellar year this year.
Julio
Jones.
It's
you can't stack the box anymore against Henry.
No, because then you've got Julio on the outside.
You have AJ Brown. You have AJ Brown. You have Delvin Cook's another good one.
Miss Speedy's in here reminding me about the Sweep the League that we had last year, and he took Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook was a stud. So we'll actually get into more fantasy talk here as the weeks come through because we've got to do a lot of our fantasy shows now. But we swept the leagues once again. NBA Finals talk, NBA draft talk, a lot of draft talk actually. Spurs draft talk, Spurs offseason talk. Got a couple of minutes in here for fantasy football. We'll get into more fantasy football talk, but for Trey Collis, the boys that are absent, I hope they have a doctor's excuse next week when they come back because I need doctor's notes. I need the reason why you're out. And don't tell me it's work-related because work stops at 5 o'clock. Shout out to Coach Gio. Shout out to Austin Hartsfield. Those guys will be back soon here on Sweep the League. So for Trey Collis, Rudy Campos Jr., we swept the league once again. We'll be back next Wednesday to sweep the leagues even more. See